All right, we've got September's sales numbers finally. Usually around 14th, 15th is when this stuff starts to come out, and we can kind of see where things are going. As much as a lot of professionals want to deny these charts, I think that that's kind of a false cry on them, because when numbers dip, books get canceled. So we can kind of use these as an estimate. It's always important to note, though, that this is not what actually sold, right? This is what was shipped. We don't have no way of knowing what actually sold in stores. But we can take guesses compared to compared to, right, last month, the month before that, things that actually, those numbers compared to these numbers can kind of give you an idea on how sales are going, because comic shops have gotten very conservative with their ordering because, sales aren't that good. So they're not going to order a bunch of surplus units for something that's not selling. So it's something to take in consideration. So there's some interesting stuff here on this one. So we're going to go over this month's numbers alone, and then I'm going to compare a couple books to last month. We can see here, Return of Wolverine sold gangbusters, right? But there's a thing with this, though. Now, while it did sell good, it did, 260,000 is a big number. You have to remember that they made like 50 variant covers for this book. There was a ton of variant covers for this book. And that's something that you don't want to forget. So people ordered a lot of them because they wanted to get the sets and they wanted to have that for people. And it is legitimately a big deal that he's coming back. I would say, though, in real time, that book probably would have only sold 100,000. But Marvel does these, let's make 35 variant covers for every book. Kind of really puts stress on the comic shop. So once again, it's highlighting their predatory practices that they have gotten very good at this point. Heroes in Crisis did good. It's not really a surprise. It's an event book. Those always do good. How is this book doing towards the end of its run will be the real question. Doomsday Clock, though, number 7, coming in at 130,000. That's good. Every issue of Doomsday Clock has been strong. And that's with good reason. It's actually a really good book. Batman, though, issue 55, 105,000. Still going strong. 54, 94,000. These books always are up there in sales. Every issue. It's crazy. Batman always holds. We got Batman Damned, the controversial book, 95,000. Not really a surprise. I think that probably all of those issues sold. In fact, I know for a fact they did. So there's 95,000 issues of that in the wild. And they're all worth some money. Especially since they're not going to reprint it, which I think is kind of a mistake, but oh well. Fantastic Four number 2. So this book did not have a shitload of variant covers. And you remember from the last month, they shipped Fantastic Four had another absorbent amount of covers like Return of Wolverine did. And that pushed it up into close to 200,000. You see the actual number now is 85,000. That's a significant drop still. We'll see if it holds. Amazing Spider-Man, though, and this is the real funny thing. Issue 5 and 6, still holding strong. That's close to last month's numbers. And this is a good indicator that book might keep selling and doing well. Actually, when you're at this level already, number 6, usually things start to drop off. What's one thing with Marvel, why they always reboot their books and do number 1s, is because that way they can get the sales back up. Because if they just let these books run and number up, the sales would be disastrous for books. Justice League, I don't really care for that book, but it did well. That Spider-Man annual did well. Venom's up there. And then we see Superman kind of dropping a little bit. And Action Comics is also dropped drastically. The sales for those two books are starting to dip. And it kind of makes you wonder if DC is starting to regret their decision now with taking Jurgens and Tomasi off that book. And I think that they might be. So then we get down to kind of books that are always in the same area. So like Thor is always around 50,000 now. Catwoman's doing pretty good, which is good because I like Jolie Jones. Glad that book's doing good. So you see books here now always kind of staying in the same place. These are those books. They always sell around 40, 50, like Flash, Star Wars, Detective Comics. They usually always hold those spots. But here's where things get crazy. Now, I highlighted some trash tier books and we're going to compare them. But Iceman is the big particular book here because this is the book that got canceled and they brought back with the same writer from the book that got canceled. Shipped at 38,000. And we know for a fact, I mean, we saw people posting it, comic shop owners were posting it, that Marvel shipped free issues of Iceman with it. They double shipped it. So really, there was only about 24,000 issues of that book ordered. That's embarrassingly bad. X-Men Red here is dipped. X-23 is kind of dipping. And then we have The Life of Captain Marvel. Like, this is like the 4th or 5th reboot for this character who they desperately want to be popular because of the movie coming out. 29,000. And from what I hear, this book is actually decent, but it's still not catching on. No matter what they do with this character, she just does not catch on. You cannot force popularity of a character. And that's what they're trying to do. That's why I always compare Captain Marvel to Roman Reigns. Because that's essentially what Captain Marvel is, Roman Reigns. Like from the WWE, they try to force that dude to be popular, and it backlashes. No one likes him. It's kind of the same thing with Captain Marvel. Marvel likes to force her to be popular, and it's just that doesn't work. West Coast Avengers had another big dip. And then everybody's favorite Gail Simone, Domino, 21,000. Champions had a dip. Plastic Man had a big dip, and so did Moon Knight. Look at Miss Marvel here, Exiles. I've highlighted Exiles and Domino because those are books by, Exiles is that one dude who is always yelling at fans. Domino is by Gail Simone, and we all know her story. Look at those sales, 21,000, but yet she's some big shot, right? Now let's look at last month's numbers and this month's numbers on a couple of these books. Now, interestingly enough, X-Men Red has an audience. I'm really shocked by that because 39,000, it actually went up 100 units. Still, though, it's a far cry from the 50, 60 units it had like 2 months ago. It had a much bigger number, but it seems to be holding, which is impressive because that book is terrible. I don't know who's turning out for that book, but they are. Now, here's the big one, West Coast Avengers, right? Now, we can go down here. Now, this is the first issue for that book. They took a bunch of canceled characters that nobody was really digging, and they put them all on one team, called West Coast Avengers. Shipped number 1, 34,000, which was smart on the on the comic shops ordering it conservatively. But look at that drop. That's a 10,000 unit drop from issue 1 to issue 2. We're already in cancellation territory at 24,000. They've canceled better books like Spectacular Spider-Man that are hovering around 24,000. I wonder where they'll cancel this. I'm going to say they'll give it to issue 10 and then it's gone. They're going to try and promote the hell out of it because that's what Marvel does. It promotes the hell out of these characters that they want to push, but then when they have really good books like Spectacular Spider-Man, which are borderline masterpieces, they just ignore them. And we don't need to care about that book. That book doesn't matter. So we can go down here. There's Domino 5. And we got Domino 6 right here. And we see another drop from a superstar, Gail Simone, 23,000 to 21,000. And we can go to X23. And there it is, 33,000, 33,000. So that's actually holding. X23 actually had a quality. The story actually has been getting a lot better. So I wouldn't be surprised if this book holds for a while, because it's generally the last issue I read was decent, pretty decent. So we'll see how that works out. And then Life of Captain Marvel. So we have a steady decrease in that book from 33,000 to 29,000. There's one more issue left, I believe 1 or 2, and then that's done. And then they're going to relaunch into another #1 for Captain Marvel, which will be the ongoing series. And yeah, they're just going to keep pushing that character, man, despite the cost too. Then we got Exiles here. I just like to highlight, so Moon Knight, 17,000. That's the guy that said you can feast on his backside. Yeah. Where those fans are abandoning you, buddy. And then we have Miss Marvel. Another kind of staggering decrease in Miss Marvel. They're just going to keep making that book, man. How low? It's almost like, how low can it go with Miss Marvel, right? Like, it's like playing a Limbo. Or what's that? Is that the name of that? Is that the name of the game where you go into the pole and you just make it shorter and shorter every time? It's like, how low can the sales go on Captain Marvel? I don't think they'll ever cancel it. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like, I bet you that book will eventually drop to 6,000. It's going to really drop big time. So Exiles. This is the guy who, I forget the name is Ahmed, I think, bragged on Twitter about how, he's a big superstar and people turn out for his stories, right? 13,000, a little dip here. But then we actually see from issue 6 to 8, we got a whole 1,000 units dropped. So this book's done. I expect it will get canceled within the next 2 issues. So that's pretty much it. Just wanted to highlight some sales numbers, go over some stuff. We can actually go up and compare the top books, which are always Batman. See, like, Fantastic Four had a huge number, 300,000, and then look at the drop to the real number, 85,000. The only reason that book is so high up there is because of all the variants, like I said. So that's pretty much it. You can see here, Amazing Spider-Man holding strong with its audience from issue 3 and 4 and 6 and 5. They all stay in the 80,000s, which is surprising, even for a Spider-Man book. I've really been enjoying that run, so I'm not surprised to see it. I'm also glad to see Venom had an increase from 64 to 73. That's good. Might be because of the movie. If people go see that movie and generally want to read a Venom comic, it's nice that they're going to get something quality. That's a damn good book right now. So I'm glad to see that. Superman dropped drastically too. Look at Superman #2 here. 77,000. We can go down. Look at this huge drop from 77 to 67. I suspect that will keep dropping because it's not a good book. Action Comics, a little bit better. Went from 61 here to 57. Things are not looking good for Bendis. Oh boy. So that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Were you surprised by anything here? Is there anything that you would have liked to have seen better? Let me know. Check out the links in the description. Get a link to my Discord, my Twitter, my Twitch, and my Patreon. Consider supporting my Patreon. Take a look at it. See if it's for you. Any support helps. And that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Oh, and like and subscribe.